Cool. Well, welcome to the Green Dialogue. And today we have at least one special guest, two special guests, maybe more. You're all special, but today we're going to talk with our communications staff. And I want to thank Kim for kind of inspiring this. Um, Many of you have had some positive experiences working with our communications team. And we all have the challenge of sorting through information. Information overload is kind of the word for the day. But I'm hoping that we can learn a little bit more about what our communication staff do and how we might help them do their job and how they can help us promote our projects in various ways. So welcome Rachel Stolen and Samantha Deal. And why don't we just get started? Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for asking.
Can you tell us what you do on a typical day?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have an official presentation lined up or not. This is kind of an informal conversation, but however you'd like
Yeah.
to
I
share.
guess we'll just start by I guess I'll tell you a little bit about us. My name's Samantha Deal. I'm the communications manager for the township. So the communications department is a staff of three, myself, Rachel, and then Danisha. Danisha couldn't be here today. And then we sorry, I just blanked. We oversee Meridian Township's website. Rachel will tell you more about how she manages the social media accounts and creates the graphics. We also have Home TV, which is the government access channel for Meridian Township, which televises the different boards and commissions meetings, provides election coverage. And then we also just go to all the special events and try to capture photos and videos and just overall promoting all that the township has to offer. So I've been with the township since 2017. I started as an intern and then just worked my way up to these positions that opened up. And yeah, so it'll be 7 years in September and I've loved it. So I'll let you go, Rachel.
We were just counting the actual number of days that we've been with the township, and I think Sam, you were around 2,500-ish or 2,000 something.
Yeah.
And then I was at about 500. I've been here for about a year and 3 months, but my name is Rachel, if I haven't met you yet, and my role is the marketing and public relations specialist for the township. So my role sort of is like the jigsaw puzzle piece that fits next to Sam's role. So I do the social media piece, email newsletters that are similar to Leroy's Green Gazette, so Meridian Happenings, and the Playbook newsletter, which is for Parks and Recreation. I also do print publications, and so we'll ease into this topic in a little bit. But the Prime Meridian magazine's coming up because we're entering that winter season where that tends to go out. And so that'll be one of my main projects here in the coming months. And then I'm also engaged in some miscellaneous forms of marketing. So getting to know what sort of influencers or partners we can work with in the community to help promote different messages, whether it's for events or green programming or anything of the sort. Also working with the different local calendars. So City Pulse is a big one, and also our Local Visitors Bureau Choose Lansing, their event calendar, so we can have some extra marketing for events. So I'm just sort of doing all the miscellaneous roles, trying to make sure any word that we need spread gets out into the community. But the social media piece is a big one, and I'm sure we'll discuss that a bit today, between all the ways that we can create different forms of messaging, whether it's the graphics like Sam mentioned, different videos, which is something I'm slowly getting into as a lot of platforms are shifting that way, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn, Nextdoor, all sorts of places. So my role is very widespread, but I really enjoy what I do, and I'm happy to help with green topics where I can.
That's awesome. Sounds like you got your hands full. I know personally that you've been very accessible when we have events coming up, but encourage people to think about what questions they have or concerns or issues, and also invite you to share how we can be more helpful to you in doing your job.
And to kind of start off that discussion, one thing Sam and I talked about going into this was, I already mentioned the Prime Meridian magazine's coming up, and so this is sort of the first time we're delivering the idea that it's coming up to any particular group or department. So we're looking to get ideas as to what individuals are looking to see in that magazine, specifically because Green Meridian will likely have a bigger section than it did this last Prime Meridian, where we were working with, I think, a 16-page magazine. We're really trying to bump it up to the usual 24 in our budget. So it's still going to be a limited amount of space, probably a page or less. But if there's any important green initiatives, like say the green grants, events, anything that you would like to see included, we're happy to get that information now and in the coming months. But as the earlier we can get it, the better, just so we can make sure that's allotted in the outline.
What's the timing on that publication? So if we have an event, say in September or November or next spring, or what are you looking for?
So we can't get it into print until the 2025 year, so probably January or February. But that means design's probably going to be taking place in December and January. And so if you have an idea of what you want in detail by the start of December, that's probably the goal. But I'm happy to always work with people on if they're gathering that information.
Thank you. That's always been a challenge, is planning stuff far enough in advance to get it in some of these longer term publications, which.
And that's something we worked with in the last Prime Meridian, where there was a lot of events that we included that either the date wasn't known or the location or what have you. So we can always put like little disclaimers to, like, these are the planning for these events is actively going on. Stay tuned at such and such a website, or call such and such a staff member to get more accurate information.
Yeah. So I guess, are there any topics off the top of your guys' heads that you can think of that you might want included?
We have quite a remarkable array of people here today, each of them involved with a bunch of projects. Would it be feasible for any of you to just unmute yourself and just share a couple of the top things on your mind, or projects that that might be more relevant to Meridian Township? And don't everyone speak at once, but Sarah, I'll just invite, just go around in a circle, and this might help you sort of understand who's here, and it might spark some conversation.
Hi, Sarah. I'm on Green Team and environmental justice in the area. I've got a bunch of different projects that are going on, but not necessarily that I would put in publication. I know the Green Team, or not Green Team, sorry, the Green Burial. There's 3 of us that are trying to get that going, but I don't know that we can necessarily. There's, can't. Maybe Kim and Bruce would have a different thought, so please share, but it's not necessarily something that we can publish about because it's not going forward. We're just still trying to make it be something to happen. So
yeah. And with any topic, it's still good for us to know about, even if it's not necessarily for a publication or it's not concrete yet. We just like having things on our radar too. So open to everything.
Yeah, because we can do something with that, with the green burial, even if it's not in the Prime Meridian magazine. There's still other avenues we can go about when talking about it.
yeah, Amanda and I have a project that we're working on that we're waiting for the grant to hopefully come through.
Okay.
So Amanda, you can speak, more on that. I have a mow your leaves rather than rake them, so that it helps with the habitat. That I got the flyer and used that at the Green Fair. So that's kind of stuff that I'm working on.
Okay. I didn't know that about mowing your leaves. That's interesting.
Sarah also helped implement a green grant, doing some native planting in her common area in her neighborhood.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the
tree planting.
Yeah, there's trees being planted in our wetland that are going up instead of, so yeah, that's going up in this fall. Worked with the Land Conservancy on that one.
This is kind of this is kind of unrelated, but I was at an event recently and I met someone who works for the Gillespie group, and she said she loved how we had a green fair at the township when we had it recently, and she was sad she missed it, but I got her to sign up for all of our newsletters, and she says she's gonna be at the next one. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Talk to someone who was a fan of the green fair, even though they didn't go.
Sweet. Maybe they'll want to sponsor our events next year.
Maybe they got the
That
money.
could be cool.
John, do you want to say a few words? I don't want to skip over the green burial, or Amanda's got a lot going on, but just going around the circle here.
Yeah, well, excuse me. You know, the township has done a lot related to climate change, and we have the climate change action plan. So highlighting some of the things that have been done related to that would probably be a good thing.
I could see that being a cool like video project, Sam. Getting
Definitely.
out different areas and summing up some
Yeah.
of the stuff in there.
I wonder too, you know, with respect to social media, do you find that one platform or one avenue is better than another, or is it use as many as you can?
I know our strategy when I got here was essentially use all that we could, and I'm starting to dwindle it back to what I think works best with our residents. So in our specific case, I'm finding Facebook and Nextdoor are the best, but that's not the same for every single business. There's like if you're working with the younger generations, you're generally working more with Instagram and Snapchat and things like that. So for the green topics, I think Facebook and Nextdoor will still be the best for those just because that's where our audience is, but it also allows us more the ability to cover more information, I think. But I think Instagram is a good place to cover the visual piece of it. So if we're doing videos about green events, green programming, the climate action plan, Instagram's a good spot for that too. So it depends on both the content and the people involved. And we kind of make that decision post by post as to what we're using.
John has been on our energy team and our environmental commission for quite a while, and has helped promote the solar or develop the Solarize program, which is happening in Lansing fairly soon. Recently in East Lansing, it's become more of a regional, even statewide effort. And then he's also been working on community solar survey. And anyway, everyone's involved with a lot of things. And who else wants to share what they're up to?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share too, but since you were talking about social media, so we also like you and thank you for the wealth of information you provided when asked are considering not using X. And but I'm curious about Nextdoor because I find personally that it's very, you know, it's location based, and like, can you tell me a little bit more about how you have a township account versus being a person and how that works?
So my understanding of Nextdoor, I didn't use it much prior to entering this role, is there's the three categories of pages. There's the personal accounts, business pages, and agency pages. If
Oh.
you work for or work with any sort of like governmental agency or something that you think might qualify in that area, Nextdoor has an application to apply for that sort of account. I think if you just search like Nextdoor agency application, it'll lead you
Cool.
at least in that vicinity. And it's a very quick form, and then they just have to go in and approve it. And I think that's probably the best for getting word out to a broad community, because with the agency pages, we don't really have to like put so much effort into promoting because notifications just go to people within our boundaries. And I'm not sure specifically how that works so much.
Hmm.
Whereas the business pages, I know they have to do a bit more of effortful promotions because their posts aren't automatically getting fed to everybody. But
Okay.
I do really like Nextdoor because of that thing where it is getting more readily fed to people. There's more discussions going on, I think, on Nextdoor than a lot of other platforms because it's those individuals who really want to be engaged in those discussions or just in what's going on in the community. And so
And
it's
is it more like you having the discussions, or they're having the discussions themselves about your posts?
I think they're having the discussions themselves. Our content usually is the discussion starter where it's like a road closure or an event's going on or something, and then the conversation continues from there. But I think residents on Nextdoor also love to be engaged with. So if you're acting as the agency or the business, they want to hear from you too.
And how many times, if you don't mind, I mean, you don't have to answer if you don't want, but how many times have you run into trouble where you have disgruntled residents who take the opportunity to bash the township?
On both Facebook and Nextdoor, it's a pretty regular thing. It's also just it's an election year, so everyone's sort of feeling particular ways about government in general. And so when that comes up, it's and I'm trying to think in terms of like actual frequency, maybe about like half of our posts that go up, I'd say.
Wow.
And
Okay.
in those instances, you just sort of interpret what the person is actually saying. Are they angry or upset in a way that they want help, or are they angry and upset in a way that's just them being angry and upset? Because
Yeah.
some of those you can assist and support and really turn the discussion around, and help others in the process too. And some people you just have to let air out their voice.
Okay.
Kim? Oh, go ahead, Amanda. I'm sorry.
No. So have you found that like it's definitely a good replacement, if you want to call it that, for X? Like you're getting lots more engagement and it's a better tool?
I'd say it's a good thing to try. I'd say at least to like see how it works, because with all these platforms, you might find that maybe it doesn't work, but it seems like it would otherwise. So if you try it, like just see how it works for you. I think it would be a good transition, especially as on the flip side, on the X side, I know a lot of like agencies, businesses, etc. They're having a lot of trouble with engagement as X's algorithm is changing to favor more so individuals and
Yeah.
conversations. And I've been trying to attempt to follow as much that they're changing on that platform all the time. And so I'd say for like green specific discussions, I think Nextdoor will be the place that you'll want to transition to.
Okay.
But it's just a matter of testing it out, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. Kim?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm part of the Green Burial team. I'm also an election worker in Lansing. But one thing that you might consider, both on, like your regular Facebook Nextdoor type things, but also posting on the 517 Lansing Facebook page for events. You might also consider maybe doing a weekly calendar of like board meetings or things like that, just to let people know, hey, there's, the board's meeting on such and such a day, and possibly, if they have their agenda ready, some of the things that might be on their agenda, just so people feel more informed and they know. Sometimes the website is not easy to navigate.
Yeah.
If you're looking for specific information, it's a little clunky.
Yep, we've been told that.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And I know it was there before you guys came on board, but
Yeah, no, but
it could
hopefully
use a little fine tuning.
so 2020, so we can't, so every couple of years you're supposed to do a website refresh. So our next one will be 2026, where it'll be like a huge overhaul. So I'm so sorry, you'll have to stick with it until 2026, but we're really anytime though, if you're ever on the website and you find something hard to find, please feel free to reach out to us and just give us that feedback, because we can try to make it more easily findable. It really is helpful when people do tell us. So don't feel like you're being bothersome at all. We always like to hear the feedback to make the user experience better. So yeah.
Okay. And then one other thing, I'm on the Green Burial team. I think I already told you, but Bruce and Sarah, maybe we could come up with just a brief description of what green burial is to include, and then just a short survey of, if people are for or against green burial here in the township.
Bruce did
It-
it's kind of an informal survey at the market a few weeks ago and just found a pretty overwhelming support.
But
But
it would be nice to have that information, township wide.
Yeah, because people actually, when they learn about it, they actually do want it. They just don't necessarily know it's a thing and know that it's something that that it's even an option. So then when they, whether they know about it or not, but if they don't know about it and they learn about it, they're like, oh yeah, I for sure want that. So, and
Right.
some of what we're up against is getting enough people to be on board with it to be able to encourage the township to have that be an option to think about. So, just trying to get it to gain traction for sure.
Yeah, and it just puts it, gives a thought in people's minds. It could be something that they've never even considered before, and it gives them something to think about.
so
And
using this as an example, maybe how can Kim, Sarah, or Bruce or I be helpful in crafting that message, and what type form of information or resources would be helpful to get to you, and who should they get it to?
I feel like, first off, I feel like I've posted something about a green burial related information in the past. It's been like so long. But honestly, like any kind of, like if you have, I don't know, because what we typically do, I feel like when we're trying to put information out there is we'd rather have too much information. Like you give us all the details and then we'll kind of go through it and decide like what, like how to write it, how to make it make sense for people. I don't know. I feel like I'm not, is there anything you have to add, Rachel?
I think as long as just the general information is provided to give us that, like what Sam was saying, just the kickstart of being able to write it and put it somewhere. And then your general idea of where you think it should go, if it should be a page on the website, if you want it on social media, just like those initial steps of guidance so we know what to work with and what our goal is when we start setting that task for ourselves.
We haven't really discussed this, so we need to do that. But what I've found with other things is if you give like a brief outline of what it is and then include a QR code or something, for more information, for more detailed, how everything works kind of thing. That has worked best in other organizations we've done social media type things for. One other thing, just in regard to elections, a lot of voters, and I mean, you'll want to talk to the clerk before you do anything in this regard, but a lot of voters are not so much in Meridian Township, but still don't know that there's 9 days of early voting. They don't know that they can request an absentee ballot, fill it out at home, bring it to an early vote location or election day precinct and run it through the tabulator themselves so they can avoid, any qualms they have about mail or the drop boxes. And I think it's just important for people to know that in general.
Yeah, I agree
We have a
completely.
very large campaign sort of planned for elections that I have a checklist in it's like right beside my actual content planning, just because I know it's that season. That goes across all the different topics between early voting, absentee, especially because for the primary, it's the primary where it's usually like a 30% of voters participate, but I know this election's a big one and we want to make sure that everyone's adequately informed with all the options they have.
Something that's frustrating on our end when it comes to trying to promote the election stuff. Facebook does not like election content and it never performs well and it doesn't have as much of a reach. And I think it's just their algorithm. And that's unfortunate too, because like you said, like it's really important. I think if people knew about early voting and how much more accessible getting an absentee ballot is and how you can return it, like I think they would be really interested in partaking that way. But it's tough. How do we get that message out there with all the new
Yeah.
changes?
I'm also a volunteer with Voters Not Politicians, and that's what we've been trying to do is,
Yeah.
go to events and just say, hey, did you know? Or,
Mhm.
did you
Yeah.
plan your vote for November? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
Is
lot
it
of
the-
alternative sort
Is
of
it the kind,
messaging.
sorry. Is it the kind of thing that you could send out information to the neighborhoods as well? Like have it go through the neighborhoods? Because
Yeah.
I know, I mean, it's Facebook, but, I have I'm the association president for Cornell Woods. So like, if you send out information in the neighborhoods, maybe they could send out information that way. And it would be nonpartisan, it'd be like, whatever, but
Yeah.
you might be able to get it out that way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that because our police department, they have contacts with all the neighborhood leaders, so we could get that information from them and pass it along that way. I like that.
I was just
One
gonna ask,
last thing.
do you normally have a distribution method to the neighborhoods?
Our department personally, no, but I know that like the police department and other departments like work with them with other topics related to the township, but not us personally.
Developed a neighborhood list on Google Groups for neighborhood presidents, but it really hasn't gotten off the ground. There's not a lot of back and forth conversation on it, but I'd love to share that resource with you, and maybe you have some suggestions of how we might improve that or make it more visible, useful.
The police does have a neighborhood leaders group that meets, I think it's like twice a year,
Mhm.
where they get feedback from the neighborhood leaders, and I'm using that term kind of loosely, and also present township information to those leaders at that time. So there's I don't think that is widely publicized. Of course, it would get out of hand, I think, if a lot of people showed up. But there's usually, I'd say, probably about 50 people that show up for that. And there's a round table where it goes around to each neighborhood, and they give an update of what's going on in their neighborhood and what their concerns are for that particular neighborhood. I don't know if you can incorporate that into maybe some kind of a summary.
Yeah.
When you think of a story, oh, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, well, if you got some, I can wait. Go ahead. I had some questions is all.
I've been talking too much, so you go ahead.
Well, one of the things you were talking about when you first started this magazine, is that an actual magazine, or is that a electronic thing that you send out? Just curious there.
We provide it in both forms. So we have it on or through the post office to go to, I believe, all the residential addresses in the township. And then we also have a backup electronic version if there's people who for some reason aren't getting it or just prefer the digital way. And so it's provided in both forms. And the electronic version we try to promote in a few different ways, whether it's social media, newsletter. I'm trying to remember what else we've done. Just so people know that exists in case they didn't get the print one.
Yeah, and is it so it's like several pages? Is that the idea?
Yep, it's so the one we did in 2024 was 16 pages. It's traditionally, like for the 5 or 6 years prior, was about 24 or 20 pages. And then it's also, for 1 year, it was the Parks and Recreation Guide. There was 1 year where it was just parks.
That's great. I kind of wanted to correlate that a little bit with the group that I'm working with, this Michigan chapter of American Society of Landscape Architects. And they have a little publication they put out. It's called My Sites. And it unfortunately just goes to landscape architects, but it's about 400 people in Michigan. But inside, it comes out maybe 3 times a year, but there would be little articles typically written by people in the profession about their projects. And so what kind of comes to mind is, and I think it sort of was mentioned a little bit, Sarah, with your project, there could be, maybe one publication devoted to the green grant projects with cool pictures of the as-built projects and, some narratives talking about the importance of those. So, I mean, it's just, there's so many good things going on. It looks like that magazine would be a great forum to spill out about it.
For sure. And like one of the ideas that it's in our little tagline somewhere is that we're a sustainable community. And so I want to make sure that that remains a priority in what we put out. And I think Sam and I, prior to this meeting, even talked about some more green grant info in the magazine. And so I like how you put it in terms of how it could maybe visualize more of that program, especially because it's, I think, still a budding program and that people are still finding out about it and seeing what's possible with it. And so I like the idea of putting it in there.
Kim?
Yeah, one more thing, like with regard to the community center, I mean, it really needed more details, especially as regards cost, both to build and to maintain before it was put out in the public. And, you would have to have the board give you the information. It's not stuff that you guys can come up with on your own. But I think it would be really helpful before all the different conversations get started on the various social media platforms, if it was first presented by the township as to, what it is, what their goals are, what they hope to do with it, what the cost, actual factual information before everybody takes it and runs with their own narrative about, why a particular place was chosen and things like that. If there was a way to put that on social media before, to give everybody a chance to find out about it for themselves, because I think what happens a lot of times is there's people, if they don't hear from the organization or the people in charge what exactly it is they're trying to do, they automatically assume that they're trying to do something in the dark where people can't see. And if you could get in front of that, I think it would be much more helpful to the project in general. And I understand that you can't come up with all this on your own. You have to have the board present you with the correct information first. But if there's a way to convey that to people so that it, I don't know, I'm talking in circles. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But just so that the correct information is out there to begin with, the why it was thought this was a good idea, how much it costs, why this location, blah, 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 before people run off and say, oh, well, they should have done this, this, or that. At least then you have presented your case before everybody takes it in a different direction.
Kim, I want to add to that too. I think it's important for the community to understand that there is no community center when Chippewa is done. When Chippewa is gone, there is no community center. Like as soon as wherever it is in that transition, they are done when Chippewa is transitioned out, because that building, that where they are located, is going away. And so I think it's an important piece of this discussion in terms of the senior center, that at some point they will not have a location.
It
So I
sounds
think-
like a topic for a future dialogue, maybe.
So I'm just saying, I think that's an important piece that I don't think everybody knows and recognizes, that is part of that discussion. So.
But that's also something that could be presented up front so that people know that going in.
Yeah. there's a lot of issues that are sort of emerging and unfolding. What makes a real juicy story, and how can we help you deliver that? What do you think of a story that really captured the attention of you, your staff, and was a feel-good story or whatever?
Oh.
Are there, and I guess I've just got a lot of questions, but what are there some elements that you can share that might help guide us as we, whether it's the Green Burial team or the Green team or the Energy team or the Green Grant Committee? How do we package it in a way that makes it more exciting, more newsworthy, and more useful to you?
I think one thing that just came to mind was the human interest aspect. I know one thing that very easily succeeds, whether on social media or just by spreading the word of it, is anything we've done with the focus on either our staff or our residents. So the top one that always comes to mind was our Gaylord Mankowski post, where we just shared the story of his business, who he is, what he does in the community. And people took that and really appreciated that. The one we just did today with our highlights of a little bit about our staff works, but translating that to then the green initiatives, just being able to write about what the green grants are doing and what that means to maybe particular groups who have received those, and what benefits those bring to those individuals, or in the, I'm trying to remember the title of it, the gleaning service that's at the farmers market, being able to talk to anyone involved, whether it's on the collections end or all the way down to where that food is distributed to, and what that program does. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for human interest stories with the green initiatives, and we could take advantage of that.
That sounds great. A lot of our volunteers don't see you every day, so I would encourage, I know you don't want a bunch of random people telling you what the upcoming news story is, but if you've got something that you want to get the word out about, I encourage you, let's work together to sort of create a package that might be digestible to Samantha and Rachel. I interrupted someone. Go ahead.
Do you ever speak with the local news outlets? Do they ever kind of cover your topics or your events, you feel? Because just the Channel 10, Channel 6, Fox 47, those are all really good avenues. A lot of people still watch the news, and I feel like we've talked about that's one way it would be nice to promote more of our events. We did that for the Celebrate Meridian, and it helped, I think, boost a lot of the people who ended up coming, because that's nice hitting demographic that we don't normally hit. Oops.
Yeah, the big
I do a
events.
lot.
Go ahead.
I do a lot with the Meridian Conservation Corps, Emma Campbell's group. And
I've been with you there before.
There's been a couple of times where the news has been there. We had a Channel 6 guy follow a couple of us around while we were running through the woods, cutting down invasives. And we usually get an uptick of people coming out to join our activities after one of those news stories airs.
Good. I like to hear that.
Yeah, that I think we talked about this just kind of randomly last week with I think it was WILX. Actually, I live 200 miles away, so but I actually saw on Facebook a little segment that WILX did on the 50-year celebration of, well, not celebration, but 50-year anniversary of the closing of Lake Landscape Amusement Park. So that kind of stuff doesn't just linger in your own community. It gets out around, around the state, because for whatever reason, it's interesting. And so it's good to bring those guys in when you can, I think.
There are occasions where they do just openly reach out to either Samurai and ask if we know of anything that's going on, because sometimes they run a little short on the stories. And so if at that time we do know about what's going on, it helps and we can share that information.
Sam Lovell just recently published a book on Mud Lake, which is the lake behind Hazlet High School. Just FYI, if you need some filler space, you could maybe.
Well, that actually was, Kim, I was thinking about that in regard to the Green Grant thing, which there's so many, the book was helped fund the Green Grant program helped fund publishing the book. It was a nonprofit that did it, the Environmental Law Institute, that of course they don't have any money like anybody else. So there was some great help from Meridian Township, because there was actually some color images in the book that was outside the budget of the publisher. So that was really, really helpful. But then there was also distribution of the book to local libraries for free. So that, again, was part of the Green Grant. And that's the kind of stuff I think that could be, well, in fact, that there was just this thing I was just telling you about. This next publication, these landscape architects asked me to put something together for this thing. So it's about a 4-page article that with a lot of images that are in the book. So that could be easily flip-flopped around and put into your publication. But I would really think it would make it even stronger to couple it with like Kim's project and other green projects that are going on in the community. It just, the more the merrier. The more you can package of good green stuff going on, I think, rather than just one little article about the book, would be really good.
Amanda?
Yeah, one event I didn't want to forget to ask you about highlighting would be great is the Red Cedar River Day. And it's happening on September 8th, so that'll be after publication, but it's going to be an annual event. I have to check my math, but I think it's always the Sunday after Labor Day. But I'll be happy to check and get back with you on that. But part of the excursions around that event are always traveling down the Red Cedar River Water Trail to the Harris Nature Center. So I like the connection between the two communities, and you guys have a lot of nice stuff on the website that you can tie back into the river trail itself. So I think that would be great. And just to follow up on the project that Sarah mentioned that we've been working on, if we get a grant, I will definitely be reaching out. We are hoping to partner with local artists and hire them to paint art around storm drains. So we'd be picking one in Meridian Township. And they're all hopefully in very prominent places that see a lot of pedestrian traffic. But people still don't know that our storm drains are connected directly to our lakes, rivers, and streams. So the art, it just highlights that educational message. And I think it'll be very vibrant and eye-catching, so good for video or etc. But we won't be doing it unless we get the grant. I think we'll be doing it within the coming years. I'm sure we'll find funding, but yeah.
It
Thank
would
you.
also be good to highlight keeping them free, the debris.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great. And one other story idea, I was in a meeting recently with the Ingham County Deputy Drain Commissioner, and he mentioned what a good partner Meyer is. They've really, like, Meridian is just basically on top of a wetland, and there's a lot of issues with where your stormwater goes and flooding, and they have really been an excellent partner in placing, you know, catch basins and et cetera, that will collect that overflow and really just help in the process. And I really am not aware of other businesses that actively have that kind of relationship with the Drain Commission. So that might be a really interesting story to explore. Not necessarily in the magazine, but
I know, they have that lot going in that's gonna help with drainage over there
exactly.
at the old, I think people have told me it's Schuler Books. I was not from this community when it was Schuler Books. But people have been asking what that property is, and so we can tie that into talking about, either that partnership or just like the community's general involvement in managing storm drains, and then talking about what that means to, take care of storm drains. And
That would be great. And I can give you a contacts for both Meyer and the Drain Commission if you don't have them.
I don't have the Meyer one, but I think I have Drain Commission.
Okay.
There was discussion about changing the name of Lake Lansing to Pine Lake on the board last night. I don't know if
Really?
that died or it's going to be an ongoing conversation, but that just attention on our waterways is generally connects all of us.
What is where does Pine Lake come from?
Pine Lake
Right.
is the original name of
It
Lake
used-
Lansing.
No
on Google
way.
Maps.
Used
What
to be.
happened with that?
Can you
Ryan,
put
we
your
can't hear you.
microphone?
That's the dumbest thing I've done this morning. So what happened with that? You
I
were
don't-
there.
I was not there.
Sam was there,
Where was
right?
I?
Were you at the board meeting last night?
No, I didn't stay the whole time. I
Oh, you
get that.
didn't?
But no,
Then I'm gonna have to watch the video. Never
I'm
mind.
gonna,
Sorry.
no, it's all right. I'm gonna put the link. So I'm posting the home TV link to the video, and you can click on the agenda item and it'll take you. So it's agenda item 13D if you click on that link. So you can click on that and it'll take you right to the spot. If you want to look, because I haven't watched yet.
You know, last week we talked about this probably for 15 minutes. And we came to the conclusion, well, to answer the question you had there a minute, I think, Amanda, that was the original name of Lake Lansing. It was Pine Lake. Back in the it changed, I think, in the 1930s to Lake Lansing. But there was obviously a first original name by the Native Americans that lived here, and nobody, at least somebody probably knows, but we didn't know in our little group discussion last week what that name was. So, but we came to the conclusion that maybe the impetus for changing it back to Pine Lake was to match the name of the outlet, which is Pine Lake Outlet. Joking, but but that's, you know, it would at least make sense out of things.
On another random note, I would encourage you to, if you've got topics you'd like to learn more about or expand upon, these green dialogues. We've got over 3,000 years of personal history here just on this call alone. No, I'm not sure it's 3,000, but maybe close to that. So a lot of people who've been doing environmental projects or community projects for many years, and can help. Maybe the dialogue format is a good way to get multiple perspectives fairly quickly on an issue, whether it's green burial, Pine Lake, stormwater management, or other topics that may not be as, you're trying to figure out a way to communicate that and make it timely and relevant, and you want to know who's on first or who's doing something about that topic. So please join us again if you are inspired, or if you just have a issue you want us to chat about.
Leroy, could I bring up something?
Of course.
Hi, I'm Elaine. I'm on the green team, but I'm also on the fringe of the gleaning project. I'm not one of the leads on that, but I'm kind of been involved with it from the beginning. And I think that's an important one to include. in your publication. I think they'll be going into the 3rd season next year, and it's expanded quite a bit. And Dave Batten and Sue Ziara are the heads of that, and they can give you statistics and talk about how they're trying to expand into not just collecting leftover goods from the vendors, but having market shoppers actively participate in purchasing goods that are donated, and where those donations go, the kind of people that are served, and then some of it goes to the local food pantries. So maybe talk about the food pantries and how their clientele has increased over the last few years. Then maybe there's an office in the township that deals with people with needs, the community resource person.
Yeah.
And there's a connection between all those, so that maybe should be highlighted. There may be people in need that aren't aware of these services that are available. Meridian has amazing resources that aren't available in other communities.
I've been seeing the cleaning group at all the markets I've been going to recently, and they're doing a stellar job, I think.
I guess I want to put the responsibility back on us too, because you guys are saturated with story ideas every day. So if we want to put something together on cleaning, I guess, we need a picture, we need a video, we need a contact, we need a general description. I think that will increase the chances of a story being told or captured or followed through on, rather than just telling Samantha or Rachel. I mean, it's helpful to know what's important to you, but I'm also saying you could maybe take this another step by reaching out to the gleaning team and saying, these guys think this is a potential story, and then let's get X, Y, and Z together and deliver it through, maybe it's through me, maybe it's through other staff person that's more involved with that. I'm just, for the sake of brainstorming, does that sound like a good request? Something you could follow through on, Elaine, or is that too much? Or Kim, or someone who's got a story,
I
an
can certainly
emerging
reach out
story.
to Dave and Sue and ask them to, because they're the ones that would have to come up with that. They're the ones that are leading that effort.
Well, knowing the deadline for the Meridian magazine, maybe there's a couple of months here that we have to do that. Sam's got something in the works that could be recycled locally with a Mud Lake publication. And many of you have been involved with Green Grants. I'm just thinking out loud here about how we can be most helpful.
Oh yeah,
fact,
I have something about Green Grants. I thought it would be cool to, somewhere on the website, have, well, probably like, if this is something you foresee happening in the future, I think it'd be good to have a Green Grants webpage, but like to have like kind of a list that shows, all right, who were the 2020, it started in what year did this start? I'm sorry, 2022?
we're in the 3rd year, I believe.
So yeah. Shoot, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, having like kind of information about who were the grant awardees this year, what was their project, and then maybe like a link to some photos of the project, like showing, so that people who are also applying for the Green Grants can be like, oh, what did other people do who may not be as familiar with the Green Grants or maybe the township, just having something very visual to show.
Yes, I can help with that. Thank you. I love that Green Grant program. I'm not sure. I think one of you came up with it, maybe John, but just the idea that it's so community based, and it's a great way that township is really spending its money on projects that are important to people directly.
Yeah.
A lot of the ideas have come up in these dialogues, which has been kind of fascinating to see over the last 3.5 years. So I encourage you to use these amazing people as a resource in the future, and join us any week. We've got about 5 more minutes. Anybody have any lingering questions or topics they want to bring up?
I was just gonna say, in conjunction with what you said, Leroy, if you want any green burial information, just let us know how much
Mhm.
and when you would need it by, and, Bruce and Sarah and I can get together and kind of narrow down the resources we have so that you're not overwhelmed. But we'd be happy to provide that or whatever information you need.
I just put our emails in the chat. So the communications at Meridian email, that will go to everyone in the department. And then I put mine and Rachel's individual emails as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
On that note, Kim did a really nice 3 or 4 page fact sheet on green burial, which I can send you, or Kim, if you have any recent updates, maybe send it directly to all of us.
Yeah, I haven't. It's on my list of things to update. I haven't gotten to it yet, though.
I could use some help, and this is a great group, I think, to run this idea by, but Tri-County has been operating an augmented reality sandbox along with the Eaton Conservation District, and it's a wonderful educational tool where you actually use an Xbox Connect system to project a topographical map onto a literally box of sand. And then because the Xbox recognizes human movement, as you move the sand, it changes the topography of the map. And then you hold your hands out and you make it rain. And it really looks like rain. And then the water pools on the sand where rain would normally go. So as you move the land or the topography, you can see where the water flows. Kids love it because they love playing in sand anyway. It's a wonderful tool, especially for the middle school level, where they're getting into that larger concept of human impact upon the environment. But long background of that is it's been a traveling educational tool for us, and we don't have the capacity anymore to do that. So we are looking to donate it freely to an educational institute. Could be a museum, or could be an actual school or university, college, etc. So if you guys have any ideas or know of any, green schools that would utilize it, we want to give it freely, and I would just like it to remain in Clinton, Eaton, or Ingham counties. So if you
How
know of
about-
any,
How about
Nursery
MSU
School would
Muse?
use that.
you guys were talking at the same time. I couldn't hear either one of you.
Okemos Nursery School would use that. 'Cause
Okemos
they're
Nursery
very-
School.
They're very into earth stuff. Green. I got them to the top level of green school back when my kids were in preschool. I don't
Okay.
know where they are at now with it, but so it's a possibility.
MSU Museum
You
or
know,
Impressions 5.
I've definitely reached out to Impressions 5. Maybe I just don't have a good contact at the MSU Museum. But yes, I'm trying both those.
They've been were on a call last year and might have a couple contacts there, but for you.
Okay, maybe I'll go
Okay.
back and look at that dialogue.
Well, I want to thank
Thanks.
Samantha and Rachel. There's so much more we could talk about. Hope you come back. Anybody else have any parting comments before we sign off?
This was a great idea. So thanks.
Mhm.
Very helpful.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being there. I've been at Meridian for 16 years, and I think we have the most environmentally friendly communication staff ever. It's just a matter of information overload, and if we can be more helpful to you, please use our volunteers or request future resources that we can if you need them.
Mhm.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks,
Bye.
you too.
Thank you.